Cool. So the links everybody for doing the poll. I appreciate that. That does really help. We did that same poll 2 days ago, so we have a whole week here of Power BI. In fact, we'll have another session tomorrow as well on Power BI. Tomorrow's going to be on Power Query that Brian's going to be doing. So I appreciate you doing that poll. That does help. Like I said, one we did is we did the exact same poll on Tuesday, and we were about a little bit less. We were about 14% had Office 365. So we got a little bit different audience today. Now, the reason we asked about Office 365 is because a lot of the tools that we're showing you this week, again, this whole week is all Power BI presentations, the reason we're asking that is because a lot of the new Power BI features require that you have Office 365. And if you hung in here with me on Tuesday, you might have heard me mention that a lot of new functionalities coming out with Power BI in Office 365, including Q&A, which is the feature I talked about on Tuesday, as well as the Power BI sites. Now, another feature that a lot of people were a little surprised by, but that's only available in Office 365, is Power Map. Now, Power Map was officially released about 3.5 weeks ago, and with the official release, the most up-to-date version that you can download with the official release is Office 365 only. Now, you can certainly go and still download the preview that they had previous to that, which does work on more traditional Excel. You don't have to have Office 365 to use the preview, but to get the official released copy of Power Map, it is an integrated part of Office 365. So just so you're aware of that. We'll talk a little bit more about that as we get going here. All right, so just to introduce myself very briefly here, my name is Devin Knight. I'm the training director here at Pragmatic Works, so I run any kind of training, and I work very heavily with Rachel on doing the webinars. I'm also a SQL Server MVP, and have authored 6 SQL Server books. I also run a user group here in Jacksonville, Florida, where we focus on all topics SQL Server, including BI, SQL Server, big data, any kind of data topics, really. I also blog at a website called BIDN.com. That's the Business Intelligence Development Network. And usually I like to blog about technical topics, but occasionally I'll put kitty cat pictures out there. All right. So our plan for today, what I'm going to show you and talk about, is a little bit of an overview for Power Map. So we'll discuss and look at what Power Map's all about, why you would use it. We'll then get into actually linking geographical fields to a Power Map solution. And we'll also talk about bringing in time data, or time elements, into a Power Map solution. So that way you can actually look at that geographical data on a 3D map, but be able to look at it also across time. Then finally, we'll look into creating a Power Map tour, which is going to be taking all these different elements of a Power Map solution or a visualization and bringing it together into a single, basically like a video, where you can see a video of your data across a geographical surface. All right, so I think what really probably would help, and most of you probably already realize this, if you're looking at a data set, I have 2 data sets here on my screen right now, and it's probably pretty clear on which one displays and tells the most about the data. On the left-hand side, I have more of a tabular view of the data, where it just shows, don't ask about the data itself. I have looks like deaths here for some reason. And on the right-hand side, I have a map that's showing the exact same data set, but it's focused in a geographical view of a map. Actually, that's a view of a Power Map solution. Clearly, the view on the right shows this best. It is able to display that data best, especially if it's geographical data. In this case, I have latitude and longitude, where it would best be displayed through some kind of a mapping interface. So I think the case for a mapping tool is pretty clear. Being able to view geographical data on a map is much, much, much better than being able to view it in a tabular view of your data. Okay. Of course, there's always a case for viewing it in a tabular view of your data, but this certainly helps to have it on a map. All right, so that is kind of the introduction on why you need Power Maps. Power Maps is great at taking geographical data and placing it on a 3D globe like you see on my screenshot on the right-hand side. A couple of the kind of features that you get with Power Map are you get a 3D visualization tool. It's this 3D globe, like you see on the far right, that's built into, and really it's an add-in for Excel 2013. Now, to preface that, I mentioned that just as we got started that when Power Map was officially released about 3 or 4 weeks ago, it was released as an Office 365 only tool. Now, of course, if you're using traditional Excel, meaning the regular Excel, the on-premises version of Excel, just the regular Excel, you can still do Power Map, but it's going to be using the preview. So there was a preview for Power Map that came out last year. That's slowly becoming more dated and dated. You can still experiment with Power Map through that, but if you want to get the most up-to-date version of Power Map that I'll be showing today, you do need Office 365. Now, basically what we're doing here with Power Map is we're taking these geographical fields that we have in our data and plotting it on a map. And we're visually showing those geographical data points that we have. Now it does analyze on a 3D globe and it uses Bing, so that tells you you do need to have a connection to internet to be able to do anything inside PowerMap. So assuming you have an internet connection, it uses Bing Maps to be able to visualize and plot out the data that you have in a data set. And the ultimate goal is what you're going to do is you're going to create a visual tour, kind of like a tour, like you're touring a city. You're going to be touring a map of your data. So you're actually going to create what's called scenes, and you bring together these scenes into a tour. And the ultimate goal is to share that tour with others. And we'll talk about how you do that. All right, so let's talk about linking geographical fields. The nice thing about PowerMap is it's extremely granular with the type of geographical fields you can use. So of course you can use latitude, longitude, city, country, county, state, zip code, but when it gets really interesting is you can go down to a street level. So I can go down to the street, provide a street, or even provide an address, and I can point it to my house, for example, and be able to visualize the home values over the last 10 years, that sort of thing. So there's some really neat things that you can do with PowerMap and at a very granular level. So you can these show the different granularities of geographical fields that you can show. All right, now if you want to really take your map to the next level, you're going to bring in some time element to your data. So assuming you have geographical fields, your data on that geographical data set probably changes across time. If you can bring in that time element as well, it allows you to animate that map so you can see across time how things have changed. You can do several things once you bring in a time element. When you bring in time or time to your data into PowerMap, it's going to allow you to visualize that data differently. So you'll notice here under the time settings heading I have here that you can persist the data differently whenever you bring in time. What I mean by that is you can persist the data at an instant. What that basically means is whenever there's a data point that happens at a certain point in time, it's going to show that data point and then make it disappear right away. You could also do time accumulation. Time accumulation means it's going to grow and grow and grow that data point over time. So think of a bubble chart. The bubble is going to get larger and larger and larger over time as you have more and more sales, for example. The last one there, persist the last, is always going to show the very last value that you have. So as you're showing data across time, it's always going to show the very last value. So you may have inventory that changes across time and you're trying to track what your inventory is, and you may have several days, maybe over the weekend, where your inventory doesn't change at all.